Leica users rejoice. Leica has officially announced a Summilux 50 equivalent pure aluminum wonder that gives you the benefits of autofocus, electronic aperture control, and metadata to go along with the blazing fast glass. I had an absolute pleasure spending some time with the new Lux and was able to put to get a good feel for it in the real world. Read on for my findings and sample photos. When the Leica T was announced in 2014, along with it came a brand new system with a new lens mount. First reviews of the platform were extremely mixed, with one of the biggest criticisms being the extremely limited two-lens lineup that accompanied the launch. In less than 2 years, Leica has invested a lot of engineering resources into both the T's performance, but also critically growing that lineup from just a kit lens, 18 to 56 mm and a compact 23mm f/2' to including a 55 to 135 telezoom, 11 to 23 wide zoom, and now the new 35mm and a 60mm macro. Since the T is poised as a luxury travel compact and daily driver camera, the majority of target users' needs are now pretty much covered. Because the Leica T flirts the line between being consumer and professional oriented, for better and for worse, it's really necessary to have this balance of zooms and primes with a bias towards the zooms. It's not really meant to be super compact, but more compact enough. Until now, if you wanted a fast 50mm equivalent on the Leica T, you would have to use the M adapter T, which allows the use of M lenses on it. This solution actually works remarkably well in the image quality arena, but you are sacrificing autofocus and electronic aperture control. While maybe not a big deal to seasoned pros, the lack of focus peaking and relying on the camera's focus zoom was pretty slow and cumbersome until the most recent firmware updates that have addressed this. The mount. This new 35mm prime lens presents itself a maximum aperture of f/1.4, which means it adorns the coveted Summilux badge. It is designed for the APS-C 1.5x crop sensor that adorns the Leica T. Also of note is that it is one of the first two Leica lenses with the TL moniker. This means the lens is fully compatible with both the T and SL cameras on the newly renamed L mount. I really appreciate Leica's forward thinking in creating a modern mirrorless camera mount with both APS-C and 35mm full frame in mind from the very beginning. While the new Summilux TL will operate with a 1.5x crop factor on the SL, in all other aspects it will operate 100% as designed on either camera system. The build. It's a thoroughbred Leica lens that, without lens hood, weighs in just shy of a pound, and at 423 grams, it is 39 grams heavier than the Leica T that includes a battery. I will admit that says as much about the camera body as anything, though. The Leica T is carved out of a solid block of aluminum and the Summilux TL is solid metal construction with 12 elements in 8 groups. Ultimately, as a camera lens package, you're looking at under 2 pounds, but since both are very similar in weight, the balance is wonderful. Length clocks in at just a hair over 3 inches. Compared to the svelte 1.3-inch depth of the Leica T, it does seem oversized upon the first time you click it on the camera. Part of the reason for this is that the design utilizes internal focusing to prevent the length of the lens from changing between near and far subjects. The more I used it, the more comfortable I became with the size, but I do wish it was a bit shorter. Speaking of small size, the lens hood is not. It pushes the length of the lens over the edge from bearable to obnoxious. I own other lenses with much larger hoods, but with the size of the lens already pushing it, this one is just too much for a lens designed to be mobile. You may really have to think about your case options with the hood extended. I really wish they would have been able to make it the short vented style, or maybe even have the lens provide a built-in hood that you can just slide out when necessary. On the first day I put the hood back in the box and didn't touch it again. It's probably also worth noting that since this system has more consumer-based features, aside from the focal length, there are no markings on the lens barrel.